And Michelle, you work with a lot of families that have issues as well. We can also replay Michael's video in a second, but I don't know if you want to talk about some of the families you deal with.
Yep, and there's many that will be significantly impacted by this. Now, certainly, so I don't know if people realise I do many hats, and one of the big hats in the home edit area is I'm one of the core team at Educational Freedom. And certainly in the last year, we have noticed many more local authorities putting obstructions in for parents withdrawing their children from a special school. Now, the current position, there shouldn't be a big obstruction. There should be a case of them checking that the parent has realised that if their child comes out of the special school, they might not get access to various therapists and things that are paid for and attached to the school. So that it's right that there's a mechanism to have that conversation, because there's a problem that every special school is pretty much oversubscribed. So if your child comes off the roll and you hadn't realised you would lose this and this service from your child, you would need to be able to have that space, which you'll have lost if the child's off the roll. So there's a perfectly legitimate reason to ask that question. But we found in the last year that many families who shouldn't be getting refused are being refused. And the refusal is a refusal to the school to take the child off their role, but they tell parents they can't home educate. And I've certainly had many more families than I normally have to intervene with, who've come to us where their child wasn't working in the special school. It just wasn't working. The child's on the school roll, but they're not actually attending. Everyone's quite happy for the child not to attend. So the child on paper in the document appears to be getting education. They're not. And the fundamental right is the child to have education. They're on this special school role, and the parents are like, well, I'm doing it anyway. I'm already home educating my child because my child cannot get through the school door. This includes children where their psychologists have documented school-based trauma. They've documented the school building is causing damage to that child. Yet even with that evidence, the local authority is saying, no, you can't home educate. We're not going to think. We don't think it's in your child's best interest. And so it's in the child's best interest to have no education because everyone agrees they can't get into school. Um, and the worrying thing is that's what some local authorities are doing now. Now, that's the proposal in this act, that the local authority can just decide, no, we think it's in the best interest for the child to be on a school roll. Now, obviously, we've been successful in helping the families to get all of those children off the school rolls and into home education. The reason we've been successful is because at the moment, the law doesn't say what the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Act says. So at the moment, you can go, excuse me, what is your issue with the home education? Why do you think it's not going to be suitable? And that is the test. They can't go, well, we think it's in the best interest of the school. That's not the test yet. So at the moment, we've been able to get children off those school rolls. And one of the biggest bits is when they're on the school roll, a lot of schools insist on seeing the child, and the child then goes back into themselves, anxiety, harming themselves. The second they're off that school roll and no more welfare checks, the words I had from a family who I was supporting a couple of weeks ago was, I heard my child laugh again. I've not heard them laugh for years. And the only change, because they're actually by default been home educating for about 6 months, 7 months already, the only change was they now didn't have to have a check-in via online with the school. So now they were the child was home educating, they could be happy and settled. But that child would not get that particular child wouldn't get to laughing again if the act was in place now. And this is the thing, it's about remembering at the end of this there is a child in every case, and children don't um you know sorry, I'm just reading a note at the same time. You know, children don't give up on education, but they do need to feel well in themselves. And if an environment is making them sick, the parent needs to be able to keep their child safe, because ultimately the parent is the primary safeguard of their child. They're the ones seeing the child not laughing. Now, at the moment, they can get their child's laughter back. But if this act is allowed to go ahead unchallenged, and this is part of the reason we need the legal challenge, that particular child may never find their laughter because that local authority wasn't going to give up. The difference is they don't have a choice at the moment because it's not for them to decide what's in the best interests of your child if the education's suitable. And that's the key difference. This act changed that position. So that child may never have got their laugh back.